Hey there, movie enthusiasts. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're diving into the gritty world of antiheroes and revenge with a review of the 2004 film, The Punisher. Starring Thomas Jane as the vigilante Frank Castle, this movie takes us on a roller coaster ride of action, emotion, and moral dilemmas. If you're a fan of intense action and complex characters, stick around as we break down what makes The Punisher a standout in the world of comic book adaptations. When it comes to action, The Punisher doesn't hold back. The film is packed with intense and well-choreographed sequences that keep you on the edge of your seat. From exhilarating gunfights to brutal hand-to-hand combat, every action scene serves a purpose in advancing the story and revealing more about the characters. At its core, The Punisher delves into themes of revenge, redemption, and the complexities of vigilantism. It challenges our perceptions of justice and forces us to confront the moral dilemmas faced by characters who take the law into their own hands. The film's exploration of Castle's internal struggle humanizes the antihero, making us empathize with his pain and conflicted motivations. Mickey Duca takes the young Bobby Saint to an arms trade one evening in Tampa, Florida. Otto Krieg, who is the dealmaker, has an accent because he speaks 6 languages well. When the FBI abruptly rushes onto the scene, the exchange turns ugly. Most of the men get killed by the police, except for the coward Mickey, who is scared upon seeing Bobby's body. The bodies are removed, but Otto Krieg emerges unscathed and declares in an unaccented voice that he despises the undercover tasks he has consistently accepted. Frank Castle, an FBI agent who is about to retire, is Otto. He was saddened by the young man's passing because this case was his last. When the police learn that the young man is Robert Saint, the son of criminal boss Howard Saint, they are uneasy. Frank returns home to his little son and beautiful wife Maria in the meantime. When Howard Saint went to confirm his son's body and the police refused to give him any information, he told his own men to research Otto Krieg completely. Howard is informed by Quentin that Krieg was a fake and that his true name is Frank Castle at his son's funeral. Although his wife Livia adds that the entire family must also perish, Howard orders him to be slain. Just in time for another family barbecue on the beach, the assassins show up. Frank and his father entered the building to examine some modified firearms when they heard gunshots. Despite returning fire, they are unable to intervene and save anyone. Maria and her son can flee in an SUV and drive away, but the assassins eventually catch up with them and run them over on a pier after utterly slaughtering the family. Frank comes too late because he was preoccupied with a knife struggle with one of the thugs. When the killers reappear, Johnny beats Frank and shoots him while addressing him as, "My father and mother send their regards." They leave Frank for dead when Quentin sets the area on fire, not realizing that the explosion really sent Frank into the ocean. Frank is saved by Candelaria, a friend of the Castle family. Candelaria returns Frank to the Castle home once he has recovered. Frank takes hold of the firearms his father had been demonstrating for him as well as the skull-themed t-shirt that his son had given him. He returns to America intending to exact revenge after becoming furious. He moves back to Tampa and into a rundown apartment complex, where he begins to modify his automobile, his apartment, and his arsenal of weapons. The opera and food-loving overweight Bumpo, the pierced-covered skinny video gamer Spacker Dave, and the gorgeous Joan, a waitress who is acquainted with Bumpo and Dave, are all intrigued by Frank's behavior. Frank leaves his house in his automobile one evening. Using a stake, a popsicle, and a blowtorch, he charms Mickey into telling him everything he knows about the Saints. Mickey eventually caves and informs him that Howard Saint is dependent on the Toro brothers, 2 Cubans who run all prostitution and gambling along the Gulf Coast. Howard receives the cash and brings it to his bank in the Grand Caymans where he washes it. Frank begins to follow the family and take pictures after learning about their schedule and their best friend Quentin Glass. He finds out about Johnny's lifestyle of women and automobiles, Howard's golf routine, Livia's movie nights, and Quentin's covert homosexual encounters. Then, he removes the date of his death from his gravestone and places it in Howard's golfing spot after dragging it out of the cemetery. Frank enters the Saints Bank building covertly, slips by 2 guards, and enters the vault. He knocks one man down cold and tells 2 others to count money and to put the money into a suitcase. He tosses the remainder of it out the window, causing a raucous mob to gather to capture the money. Frank shoots 2 of Saint's armed guards while wearing a long black coat and a skull t-shirt. He then easily blends into the crowd. The bank event is covered by the Tampa TV News, and Frank is named. The Toro brothers issue a warning to Howard, who is incensed by the news, saying that if they continue to lose money, they will switch bankers. Frank breaks into Livia's car and uses her phone to call Quentin while using a voice masking device, starting his retribution. In order to get $5,000 from Quentin Glass, he threatens him with images that Mr. Saint would not want to see, and instructs Glass to come to a hotel. Frank receives a penalty for illegally parking Livia's car next to the same hotel. Mickey informs Howard that Quentin was staying at the Winston Hotel after Howard unsuccessfully searches for him. Later, he hears Livia and Quentin laughing and conversing together, which makes him suspicious. In the hotel, Quentin claims not to be. The following day, a man enters the diner where Joan works carrying a guitar case as Frank is eating there. They exchange wary glances before Harry Heck, the newcomer, begins to sing a ballad a la Johnny Cash. Harry claims that he composed the song for Frank, and it will be performed at his funeral. Heck is pursuing Frank as he leaves the cafe while firing his gun. Frank's ancient Pontiac GTO's unique steel panels save him, yet he still crashes. After a short struggle, he murders Heck. Johnny discovers a claymore bomb marked "Front Toward Enemy" inside a cigarette speedboat that is docked at a wharf. Frank is on top of a hill observing the area when Johnny leaps off the boat just before it explodes. The Cubans march inside Howard's office and he becomes furious enough to start tossing things around. The two sides fight. Howard claims they've had a successful relationship, but because their business lacked insurance, he won't pay for their losses. He reminds the brothers before they depart that he has more guns than they have if they don't like it. In his apartment, Frank is about to pour himself a drink when all of a sudden, a really big blonde man walks in. The struggle between Frank and the Russian is overpowered by the music. The supposedly unbeatable adversary severely defeats Frank. When the battle eventually spills into the other people's flat, Joan and the others are terrified. Injuring the Russian with a saucepan of hot water, Frank manages to drag him downstairs while the man is still unconscious. While the enormous man remains still with his neck shattered, Frank can move. Frank briefly stands up before collapsing from his own wounds. The three neighbors try to help Frank. The body of the Russian is found downstairs by four of Howard's hitmen, who then ascend the stairs. While Spacker and Bumpo remain to deal with the men, Joan and Frank hid in a hidden area beneath the floor. Quentin interrogates the two and brutally removes Dave's piercings with pliers. Dave won't reveal Frank's location. Finally believing him, Quentin departs, leaving one of his men to inform should Frank come back. Johnny informs his father that Castle has disappeared and that the Russian is dead. Quentin has relocated. Livia informs Howard that she will be gone till 10 o'clock because it is her Thursday movie night. Frank enters Livia's car once more and removes her diamond stud earrings from her purse. He arranges another meeting with Quentin for blackmail. Frank instructs Mickey to have Howard see the ticket on Livia's vehicle at the Winston Hotel. When Howard recalls that Quentin was also present, he becomes suspicious and goes to Quentin's house. Frank breaks into Quentin's mansion in the meantime. Later, when Howard enters, he finds Livia's earring on Quentin's bed. Howard surprises Quentin by greeting him at the stairs as he comes back. He moves Quentin's furnishings while he speaks and drops a knife on the coffee table. To his right, Quentin asserts that he never took any money from Howard. Howard slashes Quentin with the knife after he declines to take it. Howard stabs Quentin to death while ranting about how Quentin thought he was an idiot for treating him like his brother. Livia arrives home and discovers Howard dumping her belongings on the floor. He claims to be aware of her and Quentin, and that she was with his best friend. She reveals to him that Quentin was gay after she sees his body at the entryway and after she shows him the parking ticket by the Winston Hotel. Howard merely slaps her and drags her to the car because he doesn't believe her. Before they get to the bridge overpass, he talks about their past and her status as a prostitute. She is swiftly run over by a train after he throws her over the edge. Howard goes to his club and offers a prize to his men for the person who will assassinate Frank. When Johnny is by himself in his office and inquires about Quentin and Livia, his father flat out lies to him. Frank is armed with a sawed-off shotgun, a bow and arrows, an M16 with a grenade launcher, a 1911 Colt .45 modified by his father, several tiny anti-personnel mines, a bulletproof vest, and a skull t-shirt. He assassinates Howard's security men, then explodes a number of automobiles and enters the club covertly. In the bucket he sends up the dumbwaiter. Frank places a bomb. Frank rushes in after the bomb detonates and shoots everybody still alive. Then, as Johnny screams in the building from behind, he rushes outside and approaches Howard, telling him that he killed both of his sons. Frank draws first blood in the cowboy-style standoff between the two men, injures Howard, and then exhibits to him the images of Quentin's liaison as well as Livia's other earring. Howard is made fun of by Frank for making the man kill his wife and best friend. Then, after securing Howard by foot to the rear of a vehicle, he drives the vehicle through the parking lot while detonating the bombs he had earlier planted. Howard slowly burns to death as the fires fall from the sky and become the shape of a skull. Frank is going to shoot himself at home until he is stopped by the memory of Marie, a blonde woman. He makes the decision to change his course and depart. Upon running into Joan, he informs her that she is correct. Fond memories can spare a life. He tells her as he departs that he has a present for all three of them. They discover large sums of money left for them when Dave is discharged from the hospital. From a vantage point above a bridge, a voiceover claiming to be Frank Castle declares that he has passed on and has become the Punisher. The Punisher, 2004, is a captivating exploration of vengeance, morality, and the blurred lines between hero and vigilante. With its gripping storyline, intense action, and powerful performances, this film stands as a unique and thought-provoking entry into the realm of comic book adaptations. If you're in the mood for a character-driven action-packed experience that delves into the darker aspects of justice, The Punisher is definitely worth a watch. That wraps up our review, folks. If you enjoyed this breakdown of The Punisher, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth reviews and discussions about your favorite films. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.